Baltimore County. I like Virginia here. What about you guys?
I mean, they're likely.
I like Virginia
I mean, they're one seed for a reason. Let's just say that. I don't think we need to debate this match.
Okay. Well, we got an 8-9. Creighton out of the Big
Sonic doesn't
East.
need to talk. Okay, let's go.
Creighton out of the Big East versus Kansas State out of the Big 12. This is an intriguing matchup because you got two different styles of play. You got Creighton, the team that relies more on three-pointers and offense, so you got Kansas State, the defensive team. But Kansas State's been battling some injuries, so I like Creighton here. What about you two?
I like Creighton here. I mean, their three-pointers are great against KSU's defensive lineup, so
It's a
they're
good
going
point.
to dominate.
It's a good point. Davu, anything to say?
I mean, I'm trying to think what else I could say. I mean, Marcus Foster, he's fantastic.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
the
you
only
know,
problem-
there's some storyline
Okay.
there because Marcus Foster used to play for Kansas State before he got kicked off the team. So you got
I
that
mean,
right.
really, their only problem, I think, is their rebounding. I think everything else will give them a solid victory in this match.
So you're saying Creighton?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, Blue Jays is going to easily win.
Moves us down to our 5-12, Kentucky versus Davidson. This is a pretty popular upset pick, but I'm not really buying it. Davidson's been winning a lot lately. They've been on a big roll. They rolled through the Atlantic 10 tournament and won it, but I have Kentucky here. What about you two?
I also have Kentucky for pretty much the same reasons.
I honestly have Davidson to take the upset here. I feel
Why
like
is that?
I feel like they can take the upset here over Kentucky.
There's a lot of people that feel that
I mean,
way.
I like Peyton. He's a good player, but I don't know what else they have going for him.
I mean, the reason
I mean, they have
why
few
is 'cause
turnovers.
Kentucky hasn't Kentucky just lost a lot of recent games as opposed to
Well,
Davidson.
I mean, Kentucky won the SEC tournament, which is a pretty big deal.
But
So
didn't they lose like 4 straight in February?
they did, but Kentucky teams usually tend to peak in March, so it's usually a pretty safe bet. They haven't really been upset recently. So we're going to go with majority, 2 out of 3, so that's Kentucky. Brings us down to Arizona and Buffalo. As you guys know, Arizona has had a pretty interesting season. They've had the FBI probing, like the DeAndre Ayton story, where he was allegedly paid. So they've been battling that, but some have argued that they're kind of underseeded for where they are. I don't know how you guys feel about that. Who do you have winning this game, Dalu?
I have Arizona winning. I didn't even think twice about it when I was picking my bracket.
That's okay. What about you, Sonic?
I didn't analyze it too much. I picked Arizona to win.
Okay, Arizona's a safe pick, and I went with them as well. Brings us down to Miami and Loyola Chicago. This is probably the most popular upset pick. Loyola did beat Florida much earlier in the year, and they have a chance to beat Miami as well. I actually picked Loyola for this one. I think they're going to do it. What about you, Dabu?
It's a really tempting upset pick, but I didn't go with it. I think Miami's going to scoop this one by.
That's surprising because I actually picked Loyola to win for that reason that they've already beaten Miami already. They already know what they're coming up against.
They didn't beat Miami. They beat Florida.
Well,
But
same thing.
all right, we'll go with Loyola. We have Tennessee and Wright State. Tennessee, they've been pretty good over the course of the year. I think Wright State. I think some people are picking them to upset, but I don't know if I agree with that. Who'd you pick, Sonic?
I I was not one of those people. I think Tennessee's gonna win easily,
Yeah, I think Tennessee's defense is just too good.
and they also have experience playing with top 25 teams. Well,
This is
whatever
true.
whatever Wright State is, they have no experience under pressure.
This is true. The SEC was a very tough conference this year, and Tennessee. I mean, I think 9 teams out of that conference got in this tournament, which is just insane. So, very good point there. I mean, you are an expert, so you know this stuff, and I'm happy to be discussing this with you. Brings us to Nevada and Texas. Another interesting matchup. Texas has Mo Bamba, who's considered one of the best players in the country. Nevada has a collection of good players, including the two brothers. This could go either way. Who'd you pick, Dabu?
I went with the seeding upset. I took Texas. For some of the reasons you stated, that they pretty much have one of the best players in the league.
I actually, I picked Nevada, but I really think Texas might be able to ease it, squeeze it out. They have a lot more experience with playing top teams as opposed to Nevada currently. So, I mean, I want to say Texas, but I actually picked Nevada to win.
So I'm picking Nevada. So since you officially picked Nevada, I mean you can choose whoever you want right now. Are you going with
Yeah,
Texas?
I'm going with Nevada, though.
Okay. We're gonna advance Nevada.
It's like a gut feeling. Like you wanna say Texas is gonna win that one, but statistically you can't really choose.
Yeah, of course. And Texas has had their issues this season, especially with coaching. Shaka Smart is kind of he is underachieved down there in Austin, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Brings us to our last first round match in the South region: Cincinnati versus Georgia State. It's been a lot of media talk around this one because Georgia State's coach Ron Hunter has called out Cincinnati in a friendly way. The two coaches are friends. Georgia State pulled off that upset. I'm sure you guys remember a couple years ago against Baylor when R.J. Hunter hit that big shot. I don't know if that would.
That was incredible.
It was a great shot, but I don't think the same thing is going to happen again. I think Cincinnati rolls over them. You guys agree?
Yeah, I think
Honestly,
Cincinnati is gonna go deep in the tournament, and this team is not really gonna get stopped.
I mean,
Like
I'm
Georgia
getting a little
State.
ahead of myself here, but I actually take Cincinnati to win the entire tournament.
Oh man.
That's a bold play.
Well, we'll talk about that in a bit. Let's move on to the West region for our first round matchup between Xavier and Texas Southern. Texas Southern actually just won tonight. They looked really good. They beat North Carolina Central. They have a lot of experience against good teams, but it's easier to look good against a 16 seed than it is against a 1 seed. So I don't think Xavier loses this. And, you know, a
I don't
16s
either.
never beat a
Let's
1.
go on.
Okay. Missouri and Florida State. As you guys know, Missouri just got their best player, Otto Porter Jr. back, or I'm sorry, Michael Porter Jr. But I don't know. Florida State's kind of been a weird team this year. This is intriguing. I know I keep saying that, but this one is. Sonic, who do you got?
So I actually have Florida State to win over Missouri. What actually was my reasoning for this? This was one of the matchups that I picked Florida, but I don't remember why.
Well,
I
as an
picked
expert,
Florida.
you kind of have this gut feeling, right? What about you,
Yeah.
Dabu? Who'd you pick?
I took Florida just because of the height of the team.
Okay,
I think
that's
that's actually going to play a role here.
just want to make sure you guys know it's Florida State, not Florida. There
Yeah,
is a difference
so-
between the two.
And also
Obviously.
obvious. What was that? What was that remark? But anyways, Missouri has a lot of shooters, right? And Florida State has some of the tallest players in the game. So I think they're gonna handle Missouri easily.
We're gonna advance Florida State, but I actually like Missouri because I think their coach Kwanzaa Martin is much better than Florida State's coach Leonard Hamilton.
That's actually a good point. But I mean, it could really go either way. But let's go ahead and stick with Florida.
Yeah, we're gonna go with the majority. So Ohio State, the 5 versus South Dakota State, the 12. This is also a really popular upset pick because South Dakota State has Mike Daum, who's considered one of the best scorers in the college basketball, and I think he's second in scoring in college basketball points per game. So Ohio State's been a weird team this year. They only play 7 players. They're not a very deep team. So I took South Dakota State, but it's one of those games where everybody else seems to be taking the upset, so I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. I'm going to go with South Dakota State. What about you, Sonic?
I actually picked South Dakota State to take the upset. I wasn't really impressed by OSU. That's the reality of it. So I actually don't think they're going to go very far. I
mean,
think they're going to actually just lose.
I do think OSU is a little overseeded, but I actually did take them winning this match. Partly because no one else seems to be, for some strange reason. And I mean, it's not really a strange reason. I understand why. But I think if everyone's going on for an upset pick, then it shouldn't be the upset you go with.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. We're going to advance SDSU here because majority. That brings us to Gonzaga and North Carolina Greensboro. Gonzaga is a weird team this year. I would argue that they're underseeded and they should be higher. And they get the advantage of playing in Boise, which is about 4 hours away from Spokane, so they have more or less the home court advantage. Carolina Greensboro pulled off a nice run to win their conference tournament, but I have Gonzaga winning. What about you, Dalby?
I do as well. I don't think. I don't think this will be a close game.
I think they're underseeded, but I don't think they're gonna lose to UNCG.
So that brings us to Houston and San Diego State being played in Wichita. As you guys probably watched, San Diego State pulled off a pretty big run in the Mountain West tournament. They beat Nevada by something like 30 points, or they had a 30-point lead at some point. Houston lost by 1 point to Cincinnati in the American Conference tournament, so they made a big run in theirs too. Houston's considered by people to have a chance to make it to Sweet 16 at least. And I'm not too sold on San Diego State. So I took Houston for this one. What about you, Sonic?
I actually picked Houston to win. I like both their defensive and offensive lineups, as opposed to San Diego State, who boasts just a pretty strong defensive lineup. Well, I'm not very impressed by their offense.
2 words: Rob Gray.
Rob Gray is a very good player. I don't know if you guys saw that game against Wichita State, but he was draining threes from like way outside. It was crazy. But they have some good players too. They have Armani Brooks and Corey Davis. They've both been stepping up big for Houston. Brings us to Michigan and Montana. Also played in Wichita. Michigan has been on a roll lately. They won the Big Ten tournament. I'm pretty sure you guys saw those games. They look pretty impressive. I don't know how. Who'd you pick, Dalby?
Took Michigan. They've looked very impressive so far.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be even a close game at all.
All in favor of Michigan?
Yes.
Texas A&M and Providence. Texas A&M started out the season really hot, but kind of cooled off over time. Some would argue that Providence wasn't even going to make it to the tournament if it wasn't for their run in their Big East Conference tournament. So they ended up losing to Villanova by, I think, 2 points, and they beat Creighton, and I want to say Xavier along the way, which was really impressive. I don't know. Do you guys think Providence...
That was the only reason, actually, I took Providence to win this match.
Because that late season surge?
Yeah, I think they're going to pull off an upset here.
Yeah, I feel like Providence is going to win as well. Beating Xavier and almost beating Villanova, which are favorites in their divisions, I think Providence is going to upset or at least win this challenge.
We will take Providence, and it brings us to North Carolina and Lipscomb. Does anybody not have North Carolina?
No.
Okay. We'll just
All right, let's move on.
Okay, so North Carolina did lose early in the year at home to, I want to say it was Wofford, but I don't know. I don't really see them losing this. We're going to jump to the East first round, Villanova and Radford. Radford won last night in the playing game that you guys probably watched, but Villanova's a machine.
That's about all they've done. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Villanova's going to go deep.
So we got Virginia Tech and Alabama. Alabama has the best player on the court with Colin Sexton, who stepped up big time in their SEC tournament. But I don't know. This is an intriguing matchup. Who do you have, Sonic?
I actually have Alabama to win. Just a gut feeling more so. I think they're a pretty equal-sided team. But I think Alabama's going to come out in the end.
I took Virginia Tech. They've had some impressive wins this season over Duke, North Carolina, Virginia.
Yeah, they were one of the 2 teams to beat Virginia the entire year. But I don't know. I feel like Colin Sexton's going to ball out and Alabama's going to win this game. West Virginia versus Murray State. West Virginia known for their pressing defense. But a lot of people are picking Murray State because they like their guards. And they like their chances of beating the press. I'm not picking it,
though. I'm sticking with West Virginia.
I'm going with West Virginia as well. I don't know if you have any input, Sonic. I guess that's a no. I don't know why this one's already selected on my bracket. I'm sorry about that. We have Wichita State and Marshall. This is also a really popular upset pick. This isn't the Wichita State team of the past few years because their defense is nowhere near as good, and Marshall's offense is like really good when they're hitting their threes. So I'm not saying this because it's already been picked on my bracket, but I actually picked Marshall to win this one. What about you, Dalbu?
Did you really? I figured if I picked Marshall, you'd ban me from the server.
I don't have high hopes for this team. I'm a
I
Wichita
picked
State
Wichita
fan.
State.
What about you, Sonic?
I actually picked Wichita State to win. I just can't. Statistically, they're dominating over Marshall, but that's like it's difficult to say, right?
Yeah. I mean, Wichita State's a safe pick. It's just I'm a Wichita State fan, so I feel like I see things in this team that scare me. But I don't know. Down to Florida and St. Bonaventure. St. Bonaventure beat UCLA last night. They're led by Jalen Adams, who I think is leading the NCAA in points per game. But they actually had another player step up last night, so they're not a one-dimensional team by any means. I like them in the upset. I like the Bonnies over the Gators. What about you, Dalbu?
I didn't take that upset. I mean, Florida's 3-point play to me is just so impressive, and I always really like those kind of teams. And
In this match,
I mean, I just don't see it.
Continue, Dabu expert.
I just don't see it. That's all.
I actually thought Bonahue was going to upset Florida here just because they have the two senior guards, Jalen Adams and Matt Mobley. They're gonna farm this match. Honestly, I think they're great as a duo, and I think they're better than Florida.
I'd agree with that, and it's a popular upset pick for a reason. Down to Texas Tech and Stephen F. Austin, a little bit of Texas basketball here, both teams being from Texas. Stephen F. Austin has been consistent over the years. Everybody knows him for beating West Virginia back in 2015. I don't know if I like this team to beat Texas Tech, especially since the Red Raiders are getting healthy. So I like the Red Raiders. What about you, Sonic?
I don't think Texas Tech is going to lose to Adam. I mean Austin.
Austin just has way too many turnovers, honestly.
Yeah, and Texas Tech also has just a deluge of more experience playing against top teams and being under pressure.
It's
While
definitely
Austin lacks that experience right now.
it's definitely true. Down to Arkansas and Butler. Butler, a lot of people would consider them lucky to even make the tournament. Arkansas played in a really
I'm one
tough.
of those people.
Yeah,
I think so.
Arkansas played in a really tough SEC, and they're kind of well known last year for. They had a really good shot at beating North Carolina, but they kind of choked it at the end. I have Arkansas in this one. What about you, Dalby?
I definitely have Arkansas for the reasons I just stated.
I actually picked Butler to win this one.
Well, you're delusional. Let's move on.
I think Galen Martin's gonna bring Butler to a victory, but
He's
I
not.
mean,
Let's move on.
all right.
Okay. Does anybody have
Expert Nabu.
Cal State Fullerton beating Purdue? Can we
I
just?
love the CSU's, but there's no chance.
All right.
Yeah, that college is bad for teams.
So Midwest has a. I don't really want to talk about a 116 like this, but a lot of people are like saying Penn has a chance of beating Kansas, and that's because Pennsylvania, has like the second best 3-point percent defense in the NCAA overall, while KU is a 3-point shooting team. If they're not on, they have a big chance of losing because they don't really have a whole lot going for them inside. Minus Ozabuke, but he's been hurt. So, I mean, that's the only reason I'm talking about it. I still pick KU. I imagine you guys did as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Good talk.
I mean, it's just way too much to swallow to see Penn win.
I mean, that injury really hurt KU, really hurt KU. But I mean, Penn just they don't have the firepower.
Well, it didn't
They-
really hurt them. I mean, they still won the Big 12 tournament, as I'm sure you watched, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but with Udoka, they would have just sailed through.
Yep. Seton Hall and NC State, a little bit of Big East versus ACC action. Uh, this is a hard one, man.
This is a tough one.
This
Yeah,
is a hard one. On my own bracket, I picked NC State, but now I'm like doubting myself.
I picked NC State as well, so like you don't need to worry too much. I think their experience versus top teams and being under pressure is just going to lead them to victory.
Yeah, but Seton Hall has a lot of experience too.
Not against, but their track record against the top 25 teams is pretty poor.
Yeah, but NC State's always been a team that like plays really well sometimes. Like they beat Villanova in
But
2015.
can you really gamble on them playing well this time?
That's why I would pick
Yeah.
Seton Hall. Because Seton Hall's more consistent.
I mean, that's why I picked Seton Hall.
I also think Seton Hall is a better
Consistency is
coach.
key.
I mean, I honestly think NC State is.
We're gonna go with Seton Hall. I'm leaning towards them right now. Really popular
Good
pick.
choice.
Really
Good
popular upset pick here. New Mexico State and Clemson. A lot of people picking the Aggies out of New Mexico State, coached by Chris Jans. And I did
This
too.
is an upset I took as well.
I like them. New Mexico State beat Miami earlier in the year in one of those preseason tournaments, and they looked really good
I mean,
doing
the only thing that gives me pause is their free throw shooting, but I think in a key game like this, everything's going to turn out fine for them. I think they're going to pull off the upset.
I took the upset as well, honestly. Just the pure gut instinct on this one.
And then another upset pick that a lot of people are taking, Auburn and College of Charleston. Auburn didn't make the NCAA tournament last year, and their coach is Bruce Pearls, so he's a lot of experience with the NCAA tournament, but the players don't. So, you know, they don't.
I mean, I'm pretty consistent in the fact that I take the 3-point teams, and they're really good 3-point shooters.
I don't
But
think that's good to do
They
for this.
lost their past 3 out of
Yeah.
their 4 games, so
That-
they're like really.
Yeah, but they won
struggling.
21 out of their first 23.
Yeah, but no, Sonic raises a really good point because they had some injuries. They lost one of their big men, and yeah, they fell apart late season. So that's why I picked Charleston. Charleston has a really good coach, and they have some really good big men. So I
don't
went
think
Charleston.
They've recovered from their losses, honestly. So I picked Charleston as well.
TCU and Arizona State versus Syracuse. That game
Wait,
is
who did you advance in your bracket?
Charleston. We had 2 or 3 for Charleston.
Okay, all right.
So this game's actually ongoing as we speak. Syracuse is winning 15-11 with 10 minutes left. So Syracuse is known for their
Syracuse
zone.
always chokes, though.
I mean, they made the Final Four a couple years ago.
Yeah, but that was like that crazy Black Horse run. But I
mean-
think that was one of a time.
You mean Dark Horse?
Yeah, Dark Horse.
So you guys, I mean, so people have argued Arizona State and Syracuse didn't even deserve to make the tournament. So I think that means picking TCU is pretty safe. I never know how to go with these because it seems like the teams that don't deserve to be in are always the teams that make the runs, like Syracuse.
I honestly thought TCU was gonna lose to ASU and S1.
So you got
So I
the
actually
playing
voted
game
for the
winner.
secondary. 'Cause
Okay.
I thought they were not going to beat either of those teams, honestly.
I picked TCU, and I think Dabu did as well.
Yes, I did.
So we're gonna go with them, but the playing teams actually tend to win more than they lose, so it's one to keep an eye on. Michigan State and Bucknell, that's being played in Detroit, so I can't see Michigan State losing there. Can anybody see Bucknell winning this?
No.
No.
All right. Rhode Island and Oklahoma, I like this matchup. Rhode Island's been struggling. Actually, both teams have been struggling. Oklahoma much more so. But
It was a difficult schedule, though.
it was, but if you saw that team, which I know you did, they just fell apart. Like they weren't even the same team that they were in like December when they were beating a bunch of teams. But I don't know. Oklahoma seems like one of those teams that like barely gets in and then just explodes because they have so much firepower with Trey Young. So I picked them.
And that's the reason I took Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to go Oklahoma because they do so well, but like, I think they're gonna bomb early. Like, they're not even gonna get a chance to be able to show what they're capable of.
So 2 out of 3 picked Oklahoma. Down to Duke and Iona. Anybody not
Duke.
pick Duke? Okay.
I think
We're gonna-
it's gonna go
Alright, let's
very
move this
far.
along.
We're gonna jump back up, round of 32. Virginia and
Okay,
Creighton.
UVA wins. Okay.
Well, hold on now. Virginia just lost. I want to say their fourth best scorer due to an injury a couple days ago. Does that change your prediction?
No.
All right.
I think UVA is just gonna dominate Blue
I think-
Jays, honestly.
I think UVA's defense will suffocate
Yeah.
Creighton.
I think they're gonna make it all the way to Cincinnati.
So Kentucky and Arizona. I like Arizona in this one. What about you, Dahlia?
I took Arizona. I'm not that confident in it though. I do think they're gonna take it though.
This was a tough pick. I picked Arizona.
Loyola and Tennessee. I think I like Loyola, but I think Tennessee ends their run here and wins. What about you, Sonic?
I think Tennessee is gonna beat Loyola. I think Loyola was just a really good match against Miami, but I don't think they can beat Cincinnati.
I also think Tennessee's gonna want to take this.
And Nevada and Cincinnati. I know Dabu picked Cincinnati. I like Nevada, but Cincinnati's defense is like so good. It's number 2 in KenPom for all NCAA teams. I don't think even though they've had issues with the NCAA tournament in past years, I don't think they lose this one. Any disagreements, Sonic? Cincinnati to win?
What do you mean? Cincinnati to win.
Okay, Xavier and Florida State. Not a whole lot to say about this. I like Xavier.
Yeah, there really isn't anything to say.
Xavier is one of my favorite teams, and I think for good reason. I don't see them losing to Florida State.
Anybody think South Dakota State can pull off the upset against Gonzaga?
I think OSU can. Not that we have that in this bracket, but if we can.
But can South Dakota
no.
State?
I think Gonzaga's going to beat South Dakota State. I think their upset against OSU is as far as they're gonna go.
I like Gonzaga here as well. It's a good matchup for them. Houston and Michigan. This is going to be one of the best matchups in the round of 32.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be amazing. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, this has the potential to be a great game. I went back and forth on this one, but I decided to go with Michigan since they've been so hot. Well, who'd you pick, Daldo?
I took Michigan, but I mean, again, I've made like 5 brackets going back and forth between this, and right now I'm leaning towards Michigan. But if you ask me in 5 minutes, I might pick Houston. So I would not wait and ask me in 5 minutes.
I have to pick Michigan as well. My homie, Senior Muhammad Al-Abdur, who's actually a really good player. I think he's gonna lead. He's gonna lead this team.
And then we have Providence and UNC. Providence has been hot, but I think their
Not
run-ins
that
here.
hot.
Yeah,
They've been hot, but not this hot.
I'd agree with that.
That's my opinion.
So far, we've picked 1, 2, 3, and 4 seeds in both regions. Straight chalk. I don't know if we're going to switch that up with Villanova and Alabama. I don't think...
Villanova is like Xavier level at this point. I don't think they're gonna lose to Alabama.
Yeah, Villanova and Xavier are both the Big East, so that makes sense. I don't know if Alabama has what it takes to beat Villanova. Any disagreement, Dabu? Villanova advancing?
Nope, no disagreement here.
West Virginia and Wichita State. This is an interesting matchup because West Virginia plays a lot like Cincinnati, who Wichita State played twice this year and split with them. But I don't know if Wichita State has what it takes to stop West Virginia's offense, so I have West Virginia in this one. What about you, Sonic?
I don't know. A few teams are more efficient with the ball than the Shockers.
They are, but
I'd say that.
but defense tends to help you a lot more in this tournament than offense does.
It's true, but I think Wichita State's actually gonna beat West Virginia. And no, well, actually, in my bracket, I actually put West Virginia to win because I didn't think Wichita State's best scorers would score this game. Honestly, I think it was a fluke that they've run this deep. So
you have West Virginia winning?
Yes.
Okay. St. Bonaventure and Texas Tech. This is a good one. This is a good matchup. I don't know. Who do you have, Dabu?
I have Florida winning.
Yeah, but who do you have winning between these two teams?
between these two, this is tough. I think Texas Tech would win this match.
Who do you have, Sonic?
Sort of just
Um,
instinct.
I actually had Texas Tech winning, but I mean their recent losses, like have me doubting, how far, like how deep they can go. But I think they're still better than Bonaire.
That was with those injuries, though. We'll advance
That's
Texas
true. That's
Tech.
true. Texas Tech then.
Well, yeah,
I
we'll advance
mean,
Texas Tech. That's good. That's a good pick, I think. Arkansas and Purdue. Who do you have, Sonic, in this one?
I actually have Purdue, um, beating Arkansas. I wasn't
Yeah.
very impressed with Arkansas.
I mean, Purdue's a very streaky team, right? They either win a lot or they lose a lot. And I think if they win the first round, they'll go on and win the second round.
Some good insight. Purdue will move on. And brings us to Kansas and Seton Hall. People are saying Seton Hall is the one team that can match up with Kansas, but I don't think KU loses this game a mere like 2 hours from home. I have KU winning. What about you,
I
Davi?
have KU as well.
KU winning.
The battle of the underdogs, New Mexico State and Charleston. Both of these are former Greg Marshall assistants, so there's a lot of familiarity between these two teams. I like New Mexico State in this one. What about you, Sonic?
This was a tough call for me, honestly. Like on my bracket, I have New Mexico State leading, or that's going to win. But it's like my gut's telling me to go with Charleston, but I'm gonna have to go with New Mexico State. They just seem better on paper.
Let me give you guys a little seed fact. Number 12 seeds are 8-3 against number 13 seeds.
Oh,
Thank you.
Just a little throwing a little math there, little statistics.
some quick maths.
So they have more than an 80% chance of winning, which is really good. Actually, it's less. They have less than an 80% chance of winning, which is still good. TCU and Michigan State. I like the Spartans here, and Detroit with how well they've been playing. I don't know. Anybody have TCU winning?
I like Spartans winning. I mean, their losses are really just to like Duke and Ohio State. Like their losses are to really good teams. Like it's little like their statistic might say they're doing badly, but really, can you call it badly?
Wait, who did you say you have winning? Michigan State?
No, I have Spartans.
Yeah, that's
Michigan State.
okay.
I was just talking about like they've recently lost some games, but I mean really they've only lost to top teams. So.
That's true. Any disagreement, Dabu, with Michigan State?
Oh, I think Michigan's gonna win.
So OU and Duke. I actually like OU in this one because Duke's been playing the zone, and I think Oklahoma can just shoot them out of the zone. They have Trae Young and Minek. They have some really good shooters. So I like OU in this one, even though they've kind of sucked during basically all of 2018. I think they take this game and a really big upset. But what do you guys
That's
have?
a huge upset. I don't think I can swallow that one. I think Duke's gonna take this.
I honestly think Duke's gonna dominate
Okay.
Oklahoma.
We're gonna go back up to the South region, Virginia and Arizona. So both of these coaches are kind of known for struggling in this tournament, but I like Arizona because I like their talent more, and I think Virginia is gonna have a game where their opponent just plays out of their minds, and Virginia's can't keep up offensively. Who do you? I know Daba, you have Virginia in this one. Who do you have, Sonic?
I actually have Virginia winning. You mentioned that their offense can't keep up, but I think they're probably one of the stronger offensive teams that can keep up with
No,
Arizona.
they're not. Their numbers look good because they play a really slow-paced game, but in terms of their offensive efficiency, is bad.
What about Kyle Guy though? He's leading their off.
That's true. Kyle Guy is a good player. I don't know if he'll single. I mean, he's not better than DeAndre Ayton,
Well, he
but
has. They have a very extreme. We'll agree to disagree.
that's fine. Tennessee and Cincinnati. I like Cincinnati in this one. What about you? I know Dabu has Cincinnati too. Any disagreements, Sonic?
No, I have Cincinnati as well.
It's interesting seeing Cincinnati go this far because I don't think they've made it past the Sweet 16 in like 20, 30 years. So we'll see if this is the year that can kind of break that streak. Xavier and Gonzaga. This is a rematch of the Elite Eight last year where Gonzaga won by like 30 points. And I think they win again. I think Gonzaga wins this. What do you think, Dabu?
I don't think we're going to see a repeat of history this year. I think things are going to change. I think they've analyzed their loss. And I think that they're going to know what's going on. I think Xavier's going to win.
Like, I like Xavier. They're one of my favorite teams, but the fact that they've lost to Gonzaga is going to shake them. I think Gonzaga is just going to basically display that they're better, at least that they've figured out Xavier. I think Gonzaga is going to beat Xavier.
Well, you know, in the past 3 years, a number 4 seed has never beaten a number 1 seed.
Well, this is unique because they've already beaten Xavier. So it doesn't matter what seed you are if you've beaten that team.
I want to put a whole lot of stock into that number because you got to look at this how strong the 1 seeds were and how weak the 4 seeds were during those years. Michigan versus North Carolina rematch of I want to say the '93 NCAA tournament final. So a little bit of history there. I like UNC in this one. It's a hard one though, because UNC struggles sometimes when they shouldn't. Who do you have, Dabu?
I have UNC, but I agree it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, I mean we can all agree it's going to be a close game. I actually had Michigan in my bracket, but I mean if you tell me to switch to UNC, I'm not going to really be hard pressed, like because they can go either way.
Villanova and West Virginia. I think Villanova just destroys West Virginia's press, and they're so efficient on offense.
I agree.
I agree.
Which brings us to Texas Tech and Purdue. Purdue's big men are like so good. Isaac Haas is so good. I don't think Texas Tech is the one that brings them down.
I agree with you. Purdue is going to continue leading. They did lose a few in February, but I mean, their team is just better than Texas Tech, in my opinion.
I don't think Purdue loses until the next round.
KU and New Mexico State. I think New Mexico State's run kind of ends here.
Yeah, it definitely does.
New Mexico
KU,
State's Cinderella story ends right here.
That's true.
I mean, a number 1 seed has never lost to a 12 seed, and 11 of the past 12 meetings were decided by double digits.
And that's usually how it goes. That when that 12 seed gets to the round of 16, they just don't have a chance because they're scouted out.
I sort of realize what the difference is between them.
It's not even necessarily that, but the 1 seed has a full week to scout them, and at that point, they're kind of exposed. Michigan State and Duke. This is the most appealing round of 16 matchup. You got 2 teams that played each other earlier in the year. Duke won that game, but there is some weird stuff going on there because Grayson Allen scored like 35 points, but they played without Bagley, who's pretty much their best player now. So, I don't know. Grayson Allen's not going to score 40 points again, but they're going to have Bagley available. So, but I think that plays into Michigan State's favor. So I think Michigan State actually wins this one. Who do you have, Dabu?
I actually have Duke winning this, but I think for us it might be a bad bracket pick because I don't want to advise all our viewers to pick it, just because I don't think you should pick all 1 and 2 seeds to go forward. So I think Michigan State is probably a better pick here in terms of bracket challenges.
I mean, I would.
Although I do
normally
think Duke
agree
is gonna
with
win
you.
the game.
However, Duke's already beaten Michigan State, but I mean, with those changes that Shocks has mentioned, I think Michigan State can beat Duke in this time around. I think they've, just like Dabu's mentioned, I think they've been able to analyze their loss against Duke previously. I think Michigan State's gonna beat Duke.
We're down to the Elite Eight. Virginia and Cincinnati. Two really good defenses. I think it's the top two defenses in efficiency. Um, different types of defenses. Cincinnati presses a lot while Virginia relies more on half court. This is a hard one. I think out of these two, I'd pick Virginia. Who do you have, Sonic?
I have Virginia beating Cincinnati. I think it looks closer than it should be since they're 1 seed to 2 seed, but I think Virginia is just an all-around better team than Cincinnati.
I disagree, but we'll see who's right in the end.
Gonzaga and North Carolina, a rematch of last year's championship, which, as you remember, North Carolina won. Man, this is a hard one. Who do you have, Dabu?
I think North Carolina would win this again.
I think, well, it's actually tough because I think Gonzaga has gotten a lot better than they were previously. I think Gonzaga's gonna beat UNC.
I like Gonzaga here too. I like them. I think they get revenge from last year. I think they make a surprise win of the Final Four. That really nobody
They're the
expected
dark
this year.
horse,
Yeah, they are the dark horse.
or as Dabu said, black horse.
Villanova and Purdue as the finalists in the East region. Man, I don't know. That's a tough one. Who do you have, Sonic? Villanova or Purdue?
I actually have Purdue. I think Purdue's just a lot more experienced in Wichita State. I think they're.
Wait, Purdue's
all
playing
around.
Villanova.
Wait, not Wichita State.
Oh wait, whoops!
Crazy.
I was looking at my bracket for some reason. At someone's bracket. I actually think Villanova's gonna beat Purdue.
So do I. I think this is where Purdue's streak ends.
All right, we will
This is
advance
the
Purdue, or I mean Villanova.
Yeah.
Then we have KU and Michigan State. This is a rematch of the round of 32 last year, where where KU basically slaughtered Michigan State. But I like Michigan State this year. I like their inside game a lot better, and KU kind of, I don't know. I don't know if I trust them with the fact that they kind of live and die by the three. It's not a formula for success at this level. So I'm picking the Spartans. Who do you have, Dabu? Who do you think is going to win this game?
I think Kansas is actually going to take this. I think they're going to do really well in this particular game. Much better than people are expecting.
I actually think Michigan State's going to beat KU. They have, like Chuck's mentioned, their three top. They do really well against weaker teams, but I don't think they're going to perform when the pressure's on. I think they're going to have one person go all out, but they're never going to have all three in the game.
That is a great point. That brings us to our final four. We're going to analyze this first matchup real quick. Virginia and Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga wins this one. I like Gonzaga. I like their offense against Virginia's defense. I think they have a good chance of scoring while limiting Virginia's chances on the other ends. I like Gonzaga here. Who do you have, Sonic?
I'm going with Gonzaga. I think the dark horse is going to beat Virginia. They're also, it's not just the dark horse. Their team is a little more well suited for Virginia. I think they're going to beat Virginia.
Any disagreement, Dabu? Any arguments for Virginia?
This is, you never know how Gonzaga's going to do, right? Because they're always full of surprises. So I don't want to rule them out, but I just don't see them winning this match. Apparently I am outvoted here, though.
Yes, you are. Our other semifinal, Villanova and Michigan State. Oh man, that's a tough one. I actually like Michigan State in this one, just because how talented their players are. Not to overlook Villanova, but Michigan State seems to overachieve in this tournament more often than not. What do you have, Dabu? Who do you think's gonna
I
win?
think you guys are picking too many upsets here. I think Villanova wins this match.
I mean, is it really an upset? I mean, Villanova is a really good team. Don't get me wrong, but like they're really dependent on a couple key players, like Jalen Brunson. Like he's one of them, right? Like he leads the Wildcats, but if he doesn't perform, especially in the Final Four, Michigan State could actually dominate Villanova. So I mean, I had Michigan State actually beating Villanova, one of the favorites.
This brings us to our championship, Gonzaga and Michigan State. We're going to need to enter a score as well for tiebreakers, so I want everybody to list a score. I'll give you guys a couple seconds to think about it while I give my pick. I think out of these two teams, I think Gonzaga gets their championship that they missed out on last year. I like them winning. I'm going to go with a 6-point win, 75-69. Who do you have, Davu?
This is a tough one. I mean, I didn't have either of these teams here, so I gotta think about this a second.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't either, but that's kind of the point.
No, I understand. I'm just thinking about how the scoring's gonna go. I'm gonna go 72-65 in favor of Michigan State.
Man, I need a minute here because I think Gonzaga is a really balanced team. Like they can do well against Michigan, but I think Michigan's only really lost to top teams, and I think they're just a stronger team than Gonzaga is in its current state. So I'm gonna go with Michigan State winning by 14 points.
Wow, what's the score going to be?
It's gonna be
14-0.
yeah, 14. It's gonna be 72 to whatever minus 14. is
60 or
70.
58. So we're
It's
gonna
like
we're gonna
58.
average out year two. So Dabu had 65. So we're gonna say the final score is gonna be 72-62 for Michigan State.
Those
All right.
All right. Well, what did you guys think of our picks? Be sure to let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe.
Yep. Please like and
If-
leave a comment. We'll get back to you.
and if you
Don't
win-
forget that you get free emoticons for use on this Go Shocks TV stream if you beat our picks.
And if you win, I mean, I'm also free to go to Maui, which you just FYI.
All right. That's
All right. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yep. That's our bracket. Thank you for watching
Thank
and
you.
have a great night.